Well, this new identity for the 49ers, it seems like it is not that new, at least not for Kyle Shanahan. If you go through the record of Kyle Shanahan as an offensive coordinator before being the San Francisco 49ers head coach, you will see that many of the offense that he was running, it was based on passing the ball. And believe it or not, at least for me, that was a little bit of surprise. This might not be a surprise for many of you, but at least for me, it was. And one other thing that, I mean, it was out of completely out of my mind was the type of quarterbacks that Kyle Shanahan had in previous teams and being so successful in the passing game. Let me put you one example, a couple of examples. He started as an offensive coordinator in 2008, 2009 with the Houston Texans. Well, those first two seasons, the passing offense ranked in attempts 7th and 4th. In yards, in 2008, it was the fourth offense in passing the ball. In 2009, it was the number one offense in yards passing the ball. In 2009, they were fifth in touchdowns attempts. I mean, and if you put that into context, the rushing offense in 2009, they were, middle of the pack in attempts, almost to the bottom in yards per game, and also 31st in yards per attempt. That was the offense of the Houston Texans for 2 years, that it was very successful, and that is where probably, everybody started noticing Kyle Shanahan. After that, he moves to Washington with his father, Mike Shanahan, being the head coach and Kyle Shanahan being the offensive coordinator. In the first two seasons, you can see again, the offense was based on passing the ball. In 2010, they were fourth in attempts, eighth in yards. But here comes the problem. They were 22nd in touchdowns. So even if they were throwing the ball a lot and they were gaining a lot of yards, they were not scoring too much points. And the offense, the rushing offense, it was to the bottom in every single category. There was not rushing attack. Everything come through the air. 2011, again, passing fifth in attempts, 14 in yards, and 23 in points. Again, they were throwing a lot of the ball. They were getting a lot of yards, but they were not putting points on the board. And by the way, in 2010, the quarterbacks for the Washington Redskins was Donovan McNabb and Rex Grossman. I have no doubt that Donovan McNabb in his prime with Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan, it will be a completely different story. But Donovan McNabb, it was at the end of his career. So he got injured a lot of problems. Rex Grossman coming, if I not remember wrong, he was coming from the Chicago Bears, or first was Washington, the Chicago Bears. I don't know. But you get the point. Not a Hall of Famer quarterback. 2011, they got Rex Grossman and John Beck. Again, not the type of quarterback that you want to build around your team. In 2012, it changed everything with the selection of RG3 for the Washington Redskins. And it was the first year where they installed that rushing offense. And it changed absolutely everything. Now we are talking that the rushing offense in that year, in yards, it was the number one. In touchdowns, it was the second. In yards per attempt, it was the second. And put that into contrast to the passing game, in attempts, they were 30th, almost to the bottom of the league. In yards, 20th. In touchdown, 13. And it was the first time, probably, that we remember how dominant was the Shanahan offense rushing the ball. Remember, Mike Shanahan coming from the Denver Broncos, where he was known for taking decent running backs or running backs that nobody knew, and they transformed into Hall of Famers, including Terrell Davis. 2013, again, here start changing a little bit and start getting more balance. But again, the most important, it was the Russian game. Then comes 2014, and we know that that was a shit show in Cleveland. Cleveland selected Johnny Manziel, and beside Johnny Manziel, they had Brian Hoyer. And it was a completely depleted, bad roster in Cleveland. So, I mean, you cannot put any type of reference on that season. At the end, Kyle Shanahan, he was not happy in Cleveland. He got some problems with the head coach, and he decided to move on from Cleveland. No wonder why. And I mean, I don't blame him. But that was the situation with Cleveland. Then comes Atlanta. And again, Atlanta, it was based on passing the ball. The first year in Atlanta, in passing the ball, per attempts, they were the 8th. In yards, they were the 6th offense. In rushing the ball, they were 16. In attempts, in yards, it was the 19th. In touchdowns, 12. So rushing the ball, they were the middle of the pack, and a little bit to the top 10, it was the offense for the Atlanta the first year under Kyle Shanahan. Then comes the 2016 season when they reached the Super Bowl. They lost against the New England Patriots. But that season is remembered as one of the most prolific season for an offense in the whole history of the NFL. And not only it was incredible balance, but in passing, they were number 3 in yards, 2nd in touchdowns. But the rushing offense, in attempts, it was the 5th in yards. In touchdowns, it was the 3rd. In yards per attempt, they were the 5th. So it was a very well balanced attack. If we go through the quarterbacks that they were with Kyle Shanahan, probably this is the first one that Kyle Shanahan has a very good quarterback in Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, it was not only, very good. That year he won the MVP. And he was playing in a Hall of Fame level. He was one of the best quarterbacks for many years in the league, and he reached his peak with Kyle Shanahan. So, very good quarterback. After that, he comes to San Francisco. We know the rest of the history. And only two times with the San Francisco 49ers, we've been top 10 in passing the ball. Most of the time, it is dedicated to running the ball. But the history tells us different. His offense, with or without Mike Shanahan, they were better offense passing the ball. Probably he found that identity with the 49ers of running the ball, be extremely physical, implementing new creative ways of running the ball. We made it to the Super Bowl 2019. We made it to the NFC Championship 2021. In those two seasons, the main characteristic was that the 49ers, they were at least top 5 in every single major category rushing the ball. Not passing the ball, rushing the ball. So this year, if again, we put that into context, this year we are the number 8 offense in yards passing the ball. We are the number 8 in touchdowns. In rushing the ball, we are 12 in attempts. We are 12 in yards. And we are 11 in touchdowns, rushing the ball. Better offense throwing the ball than rushing the ball. Now, we understand the circumstances in this season that they are not being normal. That we lost our starting quarterback. We lost our starting running back at the beginning of the season, and that complicates the things a little bit. There's no doubt about it. But again, probably that is not a new identity. Probably this is an old identity for Kyle Shanahan, new for the 49ers. Let me know what you think. It is a really new identity for the 49ers? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Comment down below, and like always, see you in the next one.